of staying at home, and unfortunately, the news is of increasing disease. I hope you are well and continue to follow the rules. Even when they seem overdone, it is important, I gather, that we abide by them. And I do hope that these conversations and the other ones we're able to have via the internet are enabling you to find some peace and assurance of God's presence. We're concluding the 5th week of Lent and preparing to enter that sacred time preceding Easter, when we remember poignantly Jesus' last week of earthly life. It will be different this year, but perhaps in the difference we can hear new words and find impetus for growth in our life in Christ. This week, the parable is the judgment of the nations. And as many of you know, it was my husband's favorite biblical passage. And I have always said it was most descriptive of him. He saw need and responded. That's just what you did. It didn't matter whether there was cost or reward, or even if the person deserved the help. If you had something, you gave, period. I, on the other hand, as with all the other parables in this study, when I ponder them, I find myself condemned. We have so much, and there is so much need. And I find that I'm not always aware of the other's need that clearly. However, this morning as I was waking up, an idea struck me. The parable talks of dividing the people into 2 groups, sheep and goats, those who respond and those who don't respond to the needs of the least. But the least are not put in either category. Where do they fit? You know, we seldom think of ourselves in this category, but the last weeks have suggested that I am often in that place. Since Bill died, I have found there are a multitude of things that need to be done that I can't do and don't know how to even hire someone to do. Changing light bulbs that require screws, fixing leaky faucets, figuring out how to get the garage door opener to work are just a few of the things that Bill always did and I can't. And then in addition, I am in that group that is designated vulnerable to the ravages of the coronavirus. I'm to stay in and have no contact with people, which means someone needs to get my groceries and the other essentials to living. So the conclusion I came to this morning is that I am one of the least at the moment. And you know, without even having to admit that state, that that's where I am, I have been taken care of. Bill used to be the one who people on the block would call when something broke, a faucet, a sink, the electric outlet. And if he saw our neighbor's yard needed edging, he just continued on. No need to stop at the property line. And my neighbors now are doing that for me. They have fixed broken things and replaced light bulbs. And during this crisis, they have shopped for me and checked on me. It has indeed been a comfort and a reminder of Bill's response when someone said, "Thank you." He always would say, "Pass it on." And that has been done. In terms of the parable, then I wonder if the reality is that we are all both those who meet needs and those who are the least. That is a part of each of us. Actually, I think all the time. We emphasize one more than the other at times, but we are both. And I find collectively that these parables that we have been looking at, remind us that we have been given a gift beyond measure And because of that, we are asked to give in return. When we don't, as did the unmerciful servant, we have failed to comprehend our true position. God has given in Christ Jesus the gift of life, now and eternally. And we respond by giving, creating a world in which the kingdom of heaven is. But one last thing. I was struck by Jesus's response. It is in our least part that he resides. Jesus becomes one with us, the parable is saying to me, in that part of me that needs. Our true grateful humanity responds to the needs of others, notices injustice and corrects, prepares and goes out to be the light of the world. But our needy part, though, is where Jesus identifies with us. Both are who we are. And I wonder, if we spend some time looking deeply inside to see both the contours of our needy part and our giving part, and then look widely around to find the nature of both parts in others, what would we find? And what would our world be like? We all are givers and receivers. How we do that is reflected in the particular blessings that are ours. So I conclude, my change in condition, I find, has revealed both parts of me to me. And I think Jesus in his parable says, accept both, rejoice in both, know that in this oneness you live. So if this is true of each of us, is it not also true of each of our communities, our nations, our world? We are both the least and the one who meets the needs. Imagine a world where not only individuals, but whole communities saw life in those terms. So my prayer is that in the next week we can see more clearly the needs of the least, that we dampen the fear that our needs will not be met, that we share both in giving and receiving, and that we will all find the courage to be sacrificial and the joy of being the one who receives. And indeed, I also pray that we will experience the passion of Jesus in a new and meaningful way during the next week. I hope all of us will have time this week to listen for voices that are often unheard, to see more acutely the needs of those around us, and to be conscious of the presence of God. So blessings. Stay safe, stay home, and stay connected.